Well, I am really pleased with the way this is coming along. I think this is really going to have that glow that I think is such a big deal in making a really striking painting. So let's get some raw sienna. Maybe a little more. And we're going to need some black. Black works really well. You could use neutral tint or, I don't know, a mixed gray of some kind. The point is, black actually does a really good job with raw sienna to make a shadow value. I said I was going to like that. I want it to be a little darker though. And I don't think I'm going to get enough darker without losing the raw sienna feel to it. If I put more black in it, that's not going to work. So I'm going to go and get a little bit of burnt sienna. Excuse me, burnt umber. And mix in with that. Maybe just a touch more black now. Okay, I think I've got something that's going to work there. Let's see how it looks. Because, you know, how it looks right here and how it looks on top of the shorts are two different things. Okay, fresh paper towel. Well, let's see where our shadows are. Oops. Let's see where our shadows are here on these shorts. And you know, I made this kid's shorts raw sienna too when they were actually gray in the photo. Well, of course, that is too dark, I think. But let's weaken it. Yeah, I love to just throw down a chunk of color and then spray it out with a little water or pull up a little extra color and get what I want. So the shadows are coming along in here, something like that. I believe that looks pretty good right there, which means when it's dry, it's not going to be enough. So let's add a little more color in here to this. And I'll let it go like that. Oh, by the way, I had gotten to looking at the back of this shirt and decided that I didn't like the shape of the shadow that I had here, and that I would do a little bit of lifting. Yeah, I think that works with the form of his body much, much better. And then I might even take this little area right there and lift a little extra off of it. No, that's not enough. There. I feel better about that now. Okay. Okay, so I like what happened here, so let's do this kid's shorts. He's got a lot of shadow in under here. You almost can't tell what's skin and what's shorts. And there's quite a crease right there. He's got a pocket. Let's put that pocket, the shadow from that pocket in there. I didn't even put that in the drawing. And then there is also the shadow from his shirt onto his shorts. Right here. Let's do a little bit of that. And I think I'll soften that edge a little bit right there. Let's deepen this. And see, I'm just pulling a little color over from the rest of the shadow. I think I'd soften that too. And over here, we could give this a little bit more interest. Oh, by the way, there is a shadow here. I don't know. Remember, we got that darn Frito package there, and then we've got a creature over there, so it's hard to tell what's what. But this little guy is probably casting, oops, got my finger in the wet paint. This little guy's leg is probably casting a shadow over here, but maybe we won't make it a real strong shadow. So I'll take something with some raw sienna and some of this other mixture, a little thinner. Let's see what that does. I'm just going to make the shape that I see there. I think that would be believable that it came from, let's see, let's put a little more of the pocket in there. Maybe another bit of a wrinkle. That probably gets it right there. You know, that could be just a touch darker. Let's just take it while it's wet. Let's just touch in a little more color on maybe just part of it, not the whole thing. You know, it doesn't everything have to be real strong. So about the brown in the hair. Well, that's a purpley tone. That won't work. You know, this isn't so bad to make the lighter value maybe in the hair. It's a little browner than, see, what I don't want to do is put my hands in the wet paint. Let's see what that would look like. You know, that would work really well to make the lighter layer of brown. This kid has got pretty dark hair. His hair is a little, this one's hair is a little darker than this one. So his hair comes down a little bit behind that ear. And remember, he's got sunglasses on the back of his head, and we're not doing those. So this is not your dark brown. This is your, let's call it an intermediate brown. I do have this, yeah, turned on. Okay. I have to do this in small amounts because the memory on my iPad that I'm recording all this on is a little bit weak. There's not much memory on it. So if I put too much on it, the thing jams up and then I can't download anything and it's a problem. Okay, so you see I am softening the edge here on his hair because it should be softened. Okay, see that looks more natural. Now we still have got, you know, we've got a lot of darkening and shaping to do here, but that's a nice beginning. What I realized is that this is going to take a little bit more stuff than I had intended. And particularly, I don't know if you've found your water creatures yet, but I have found mine. That is, someone supplied me with some dolphins that that look like they would be really good for this. Okay, so again, right here, while that's damp, and I didn't, this isn't a big juicy wash. It's wet, but I mean, I didn't put a lot down there. So it's real easy to soften the edge on something like that. Okay. And then you really have to pay attention to what's going on around their little ears. So he's got a little spot right there. And then this comes up. And he has bangs right about there. Again, if you want to take your pencil and map this out, you may still have it in your drawing, but if you're like me, you may have washed a lot of it out. So there's a lot more to do to this than I realized, because we have to put our critter in. We've got more shaping to do on these little guys. So I guess I'm going to save that for another lesson. I'm going to soften the edge here too. See, this just looks artificial compared to the real thing. And a lot of that is just highlights and softness, but the first step towards getting it is to soften these edges. But I kept a hard edge there around the back of the ear and over here. You know, I would even like to soften these edges up here. There, see, and lighten that a little bit. This one will look lightened once we get the darker hair in here. But I could take my little lifting brush. This is a little stiff one. And I could soften that just a little bit, because there might be a line there. And there might be some where one color overlapped another and it made it kind of harsh. And can you see how that softened? I think in part I got rid of some of the pencil line. And I like what that did there. Because we might actually use some of this color glazed a little bit into some of the hair. Then we're going to have to get a lot darker on the skin. And I think there's a couple of places where I would like to add in a little bit darker of this basic skin color. And that is in the ears. Here, this is the last color that we used on them. This area has a little bit more yellow in it. They kind of separated. This has a little bit more red there. I want that little bit of red and very tiny. But let's see. Oh, you know what? That's his ear. Darn it. This, you know, I probably should have done this painting larger. I'm going to lift that hair off of there a little bit and come back and add to that when it's dry. Let's come over here and let's work on this other ear. This little guy. If I'd done this a little bigger, I might would have put it in a show. So all of this area here around the ear is a little bit darker. Now, that's not, you know, that's a little strong there. But remember, once I go back into it, it always gets weaker. I'm softening the edge there, but I want to keep the tip of that ear with the highlight on it. And then I think I'll come in here and soften that. Yeah, I'm really tempted to, you know, play with the detail on this and make it better. And which means I should have done a larger painting. So right here, let's soften this edge and let's pull a little bit more color in here behind the ear, because there's not that much highlight there. There should be a little bit of highlight compared to what it's next to. Can't quite seem to pick up enough color. There we go. So you see how I have to tease this around and play with it some? It doesn't just all happen. So if I'm having trouble and I'm the one teaching this, you're probably, again, don't expect yourself to just plop it down and it's right. You know, sometimes it looks like I plop it down and it's right. What I'm trying to point out to you is that that's not really the case, that I am constantly adjusting. Oh, look at that shape in behind that ear now. Isn't that nice? And I think I could use a little more color right down here. See, as we get these light to dark areas going, like we've got in the shirts, we begin to see other areas that could go darker. And then, so you have to get some darks in. And it's nice to have this dark around here, but we also needed some of this depth in here on the figures to begin to see more of the places that needed more depth. So I'm going to dry this little spot and do it. When I originally planned this, I planned for it to be just simply an almost people. But the thing is, the lighting here is so good that it's just hard to limit it like that. I also widened this bottom area down here. I don't know what yours is like, but for them to be sitting on this and this to be a continuous shape coming through here, this needed to set wider here. And I did lift there a little bit. It's still not quite right. I just need to lift a little bit more. Let me show you how I did that. So this is one of those, some of you might not know, Master's Touch. This is a 1/8 inch flat that came from Hobby Lobby, Master's Touch, on sale. And then I cut it off with a razor blade. Right there, I just chopped it. So it's very, very short, but it has the synthetic hair that is just the right amount of stiffness. It's stiff enough when it's cut short, but it's not so stiff that it messes up your watercolor. So I can come in here and when you have an area that is as dark as this, it's pretty easy to lift. So this looks a little streaky and beat up now. But I care more about the shape than I do whether it's streaky. And just put more streaks in it. There. I might just leave it just like that. Yeah, but you can see that when I want to make a curve like that, I take it and use my hand, you know, the heel of my hand, kind of like a, you know, the center of a compass. And that gives me a lot more control. All right. So let's do just a little bit more on his face, this one's face. Now, of course, I folded him right in the middle of his face. First thing I got to do is put a little more hair in behind his ear because I'm reshaping his ear. I had cut into it too much. Fact of the business is I kind of curl the hair around behind his ear, which isn't the way it is in the picture. But I'm not going to worry with that. That doesn't bother me too much. Okay, so I've got that. Now let's take this color. Ah, looky here. You see the bottom part of the ear? Do you see that darker? Can you see that darker area right under the bottom part of the ear? Where his, you know, where his skin curves back behind his jaw. See that's darker right there? I don't have this yet. I didn't do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take water and I'm going to put just in that area that's in front of the ear, just a tiny area in back of the ear, and it comes down here on the jaw some. So I've got a little bit of water there. I'm going to take this brush is, wait a minute. This brush is just like that. I'm going to take the tip of the brush and put in this almost dried paint here. So see, that's a very thin layer of paint. So I can pick up a tiny amount. I have a lot of control. Love these plates, the newer ones that he's making now. Everything's like this PVC, and it has this great texture that really helps. So I want to deepen that right, just that little area right behind the ear. And it actually comes a little bit in front of the ear too, like that. Whoa, whoa, and that looks awful. What's going on here? Okay, I'm washing my brush out. And I'm going to very gently do this. I've got a couple of indentations there in his skin. Like, you know, like maybe I jabbed it with my fingernail or something. Okay, this shape needs to be just a little bit different than it is. Just come over here in front, whoops. In front of the ear like that. All right. I hate this shape down here because that's everything. The paint is going to go in that low area. Every time I do something there, the paint's going to go in that low area. So when I make this darker, it's going to stand out. I'll have to try and patch it with some kind of opaque mixture, probably. Oh, that's depressing. Okay, I've got that shape better. Looks a little funky right now, but I think it'll be okay. And then the inside of his ear. I went up just a little bit too high. Made him look like Dr. Spock. Okay. That's not perfect, but it's pretty decent. Those grooves down there, they look like kitty whiskers. I don't know if y'all can see them or not. Okay. Next time, we're going to shade in the skin and the hair. And we're going to put in a critter. Oh, and right down here, I'm picking up some of that mixture. You know, the phthalo green and the ultramarine. I'm going to shade this area of the water darker. Like that. So see, I redid the edge on that because that's the most important part of it. And then on these two areas where I monkeyed with it a little bit, I'm not happy with what I did. So I'm going to come back and clean that up a little bit. Right there. And I've got the same problem over here. The trajectory there is wrong. For what I've got down here. Now, this may be the correct positioning. But then what I did with it down here, they don't look like they would connect. So I'm going to put it going a little further south there. You can see the old line. See the old line? I could fix that with some, a little bit of white ink. All right, and of course the last thing is the bubbles will come up. So you have homework too, because you have to finish the shoe. And this, that we need a shadow on, whoops, we need a shadow on this ultramarine tag here. I'll just put that in right now. There. Okay. Done. Done. We're at a stopping point. See you next week. Fix that shoe.